everyone's making money in college sports, from the NCAA to the coaches, now the players with name, imaging, and licensing. But why is everyone unhappy? Dabo Sweeney's unhappy if players get a cookie, and Nick Saban's unhappy that players are entering the transfer protocol. Why are they unhappy? Probably the third-string cornerback at Alabama would be the first-string cornerback most other places, and it's always about minutes and opportunity.
So what are they getting? How many players are getting money? Just the top players?
I think it's just the top players. Now, I don't know how much Paige Beckers is making. She got more than she deserved this year because she missed most of the season with broken knee.
Who's paying them?
Well, it's pretty much it's private sponsorship. So I heard that in Texas there's a car dealership that's giving each of the offensive linemen $50,000 a year. I don't know if that means if you're a bench player, you're getting 50 or you get some fraction of that. But I mean, you must be a pretty successful car dealer if you can give several $100,000 away.
So are you getting that money after you sign with a team, or can you get it before?
No, I mean it's all part of sponsorship. So the player, I'm sure, says, "This is Billy Joe Bob Chevrolet, and I'm Johnny Jones from the University of Texas. Buy your, Chevy Blazer at this dealership."
That's what it is?
Right, so they can make money with endorsements.
So someone like Becker's, right, she'd have to wait till she's in college.
Right.
Does it have to be? Can you do it in high school if you're a senior?
So far it hasn't trickled down to the high school level, but that's obviously the next territory, because there are players who have big Instagram profiles or are nationally known, not to me, but who are everyday or household names in the high school community.
Can you imagine what LeBron James would have got his senior year?
Well,
wow.
I remember a few years ago that was at Oklahoma State football. They said boosters would come into the locker room with lunch bags, and the lunch bag would have like a pair of white socks in it with $300 in the socks.
Now, can it be anybody giving you money? Can it be a booster giving you money?
I don't know what the fine details are, and probably
I don't think that could be.
Probably the NCAA wants to have more control. Well, they want a piece of the action. It's always the same. So
wow. So that's why Saban's upset. So like his third string quarterback will go to another team.
Why not?
If they're going to offer him money.
Sure, it's a land of opportunity.
Even though you still want to make the pros, though, so you want to get that, play for an Alabama or a Clemson.
Right. Well, we'll see how it goes. But there's a lot of money out there, and there's a lot of other happenings going on right now. Out in Los Angeles, some people are unhappy because they took Clayton Kershaw out after 7 innings and 80 pitches, and he had a perfect game. But Kershaw's got a lot of innings under his belt, and I can understand they've got an investment to protect.
Well, Kershaw was fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he was, though. But you can, they're thinking is, okay, we keep him in for the 8th inning, right? And he throws 20 pitches. So now he's up to 100. Now we keep him in for the last inning, and he throws another 20 pitches. He could throw out his arm, with the problems he's had.
Right.
I mean, if that was after 8 innings and he had thrown 90 pitches, then you know they would have kept him in.
Well, you've pitched, I've pitched, so as a pitcher, when something special is happening. If you had a no-hitter, and I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of no-hitters, you don't have to, in the 3rd inning, you have a no-hitter. It doesn't have to be, deep into the game. But anyway, there was a lot of unhappiness, and I don't think it was in L.A. I think it was on the road, so there weren't any fans booing Dave Roberts or whatever. The San Francisco Giants had an assistant coach, Alyssa Nacken, who was promoted to on-field because I think the first base coach got thrown out of the game. So it was the first time a woman had been on the field during a major league game as a coach. I guess she was a softball player in college, and I'm sure she knows the game. I mean, we all think we know the game of baseball.
You know what I like? I like college softball. I like watching the girls college softball when that's on.
Well, it's very interesting. If you were to watch different college sports, like if you watch college volleyball, women's college volleyball. You see you have a long, thin, athletic type of athlete. And in softball, you have some outfielders that are tall and thin and speedy, but you have a lot of corner infielders and stuff that look like Harmon Killebrew. They've got arms that are bigger than ours, and just powerful young women who can really drive the ball. So different sports attract different types of athletes.
But what's funny though? I've always loved women's college basketball way better than the men's. I just get into it better. I just like that brand of basketball. I like college softball better than I like college baseball. And even soccer, which I'm not a big fan of soccer, I enjoy the American women playing more than the American men. I wouldn't know any of the American men playing soccer.
Well, it's something like women's tennis. You have longer rallies because one player just can't put it away with a power game in isolation. So there's sometimes there's more strategic action, and certainly in women's basketball, below the rim is very attractive. There's more team play. And now it'll be interesting to see what happens at UConn because they got murdered on the boards.
Their 6'5" backup center, who was their better center, broke her wrist. She didn't play in the Final Four.
So, but the woman Boston is 6'5", and what does she weigh? 230, 240? She's enormous.
They got a huge break when she broke her wrist because she would have been battling them under the basket. She's their best rebounder, and she would have been in there for at least half the game. And the one thing that's really concerns me about UConn is Beckers. Even my son said, he goes, he watched the game because I like him. Mm-hmm. So he watched it. He said, Dad, she doesn't take over the game when she's supposed to.
I knew you were going to say that.
She goes, last year was the same thing. In the biggest game, she let the point guard from Arizona outplay her because the point guard from Arizona wanted it, and she didn't want it. I don't know if she's healthy at this point. But even last year, I think she's more of a team player. There were games when she scored that 31 last year against Baylor in that big game where she was unbelievable. And then she scores 9 points.
Well, and Fudd was sick, so Fudd only played sparingly. I think she had 3 points. But
she scores 9 points in the third quarter. You think she's going to take over the game now in the fourth quarter? What'd she take, 2 shots in the fourth quarter?
Wasn't much.
But, if you take away the rebounding, they could outplay that team. They didn't have the rebounding. They got in foul trouble. And the backup center, that was the key. But next year, she has another year that she could either go pro. I don't think she went pro. She'll be back, but they have 2 girls coming in who they say are unbelievable athletes. One's a center, 6'3.5", and another one's a forward, who's 6'2", and they say they're the 2 top athletes in the country coming in. And then they're rated 4th and 5th in their class. Coming in, but South Carolina has a number 1 player. She's the center coming in, so they're gonna as big as they were this year. They're gonna be even bigger next year.
Well, anyway, women's college basketball has really evolved to the point that you have many more highly skilled players and many more players that are just enormous.
Look at Clark for Iowa. She's unbelievable. She had a bad game when they got knocked out, but she scored 20 points on 20-something shots. But she scores 30 like it's nothing. There's just so much talent now. Then you go to the pros. It's just a whole different ball game now.
Well, spring is here, and that nowadays that brings me to the idea of if you were starting over as a young athlete, would you be playing baseball or would you be playing lacrosse?
Well, last night I froze watching my 8-year-old grandson playing his first Little League game. I went up to New Hampshire. I'm up there and it's cool. And then as the game's going on because they had school in New Hampshire, so the game didn't start till 5:30. So now it's the sixth.
Cold and dark.
Now it's the 6th inning and it's 7:15, and they played the 6th inning. But it's fun, I went up but he's big into basketball now too.
I just think that the popularity of lacrosse is going to keep growing, and that baseball, unless the game changes a lot, younger people don't really like watching it because it's so slow.
But I love it. I still love baseball, even though, I'm more into basketball right now. But lacrosse, I work with a guy, one of the DAs. He's in his 30s. He was a great lacrosse player in college, and he's coaching up at Georgetown. He just loves it. He comes in and talks about his different drills he runs, but he just loves lacrosse. A lot of kids love lacrosse.
Well, it's a physical game. It's got skill. It's got contact on the boys' side. So there's a lot of things that appeal to it. You see a lot of crossover with hockey players playing lacrosse.
But it's just funny, how the young kids. Baseball, of course, it's not as big as it was because lacrosse is starting to take over. A lot of kids are playing that, but it's still baseball. There's something about that sport. And when you're pitching or when you're catching, now what they did with that team is, like Jake played shortstop, first base, pitcher, and catcher in that game.
Okay, so it wasn't coach pitch or.
No, at the first 2 innings it's coach, and then you pitch.
Okay.
So they don't have the kids, like their 4 top players pitched an inning on my grandson's team, and they liked it. I love watching it. There's something about baseball. Well, baseball was my favorite sport, and then basketball, both of them.
I came across an article today that was discussing, do you have to play club sports to play college sports? And the vast majority of athletes in most of the sports, especially basketball, are playing high-level AAU. So the point that the article made was it's very hard to go get recruited without playing club sports. Now, for example, one of the twins' roommate's sister never made her high school volleyball team in California, but she got a Division I scholarship on the East Coast out of the club circuit.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the teams out there are so far ahead of out here, both in size and skill.
Well, no, I'm watching it now because I'm coaching the AAU team, my friend's AAU team. So Saturday we played just Saturday. The 8th graders played 2 games, the 10th graders played 2, the varsity played 2, and the 6th graders played 2. And, and I got the opportunity to coach the 10th grade team, and the talent. The second game we played, there was a 6'5" girl at center for the team we were playing. They were unbelievable. And as a matter of fact, I've been going Wednesdays and Thursdays to coach with them. We have to do a better job of shooting the ball. We're really good in the open court, but it's been fun with me. Going to coach them. Now I'm going to Atlantic City for a weekend in May to coach with this team. So we're going for 3 nights and 4 days. We're going on a Thursday. Well, I think I'm going crazy with this coaching.
Karen's daughter, who's 17 months old, is in soccer in Charlestown. Like, what are you doing a year and a half? You just kind of run around.
That's what it is now. It's unbelievable.
I know. So then my other daughter, Paula's kid, is 2, and she's like, oh, geez, it's really hard to find a place to play in New York City. So kids get started so young, and I think the coaching at young ages, not at that age, I don't think it makes any difference, but the coaches at a lot of levels is really very good now.
In Duxbury, my other grandson, Kellen, who was 6 years old last year, played tackle football. My son-in-law was the coach, and they watch out for the kids, but he's the one who can sit there and talk to you about football for an hour.
Of course, Duxbury had a great football tradition. They'd won 5 state championships, and then they got into bad behavior down there. I'm not really sure who was in charge.
Where was that?
Duxbury.
Oh, that varsity coach.
Right. And obviously we know that in Woburn there's been a big conflagration about a young player who's alleged to have been assaulted. 7 students are charged with assault, and the family has a $750,000 suit against the city of Woburn. So,
but what it all comes down to, Ron? It's the captain, the captains. When my son played football at Melrose, the captain, they were more in fear of the captain than they were of the coach, Morris. Morris was the coach, but Jeff Hill was the captain. you couldn't. No one could drink. He made sure of that. I mean, the captain. Look, when your daughters were captains.
Well,
I mean, no one would have ever done anything. And when my daughter was a captain of the volleyball.
Well, I want to believe that people will never go over the line, but
no, it's the captains are huge. You got to make sure you have good captains.
It is really important to have player-driven leadership to help keep kids in line, and that goes up through all levels. I mean, look at when Jordan was on the Bulls and they had Rodman. Well, Jordan kept Rodman in line because he was a knucklehead. So
it was tough keeping him in line.
That's for sure.